Good morning, all. So today we are going to see about analog circuits in our gate class. So let's start with the analog circuits. Analog circuits is all about circuits which deal with analog signals, that is continuous signals. And among analog circuits, the most important a component of analog circuit is operational amplifier. All like we have transistors, resistors, almost all electronic components are analog in nature only. And op-amp is also analog. And we are going to see about op-amp in detail. Yes. So first to start with, let us see what is an op-amp. An op-amp is, it's nothing but it is a multi-terminal device, a versatile device, and it is a device basically an amplifier which is having very high gain. So we can call operational amplifier, in short op-amp, as a amplifier with high gain. And this op-amp is a versatile device, as I said, and it can be used for performing mathematical operations also, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, integration, all these things. And if we talk about this background of this IC, we were talking about op-amp, is it not? Op-amp is actually manufactured now as an IC. So if we start from the evolution of this IC, initially before 1950s, entire electronic components where the electronic technology was built with vacuum tube technology. Okay, and later, after the invention of transistors in 1947, the size has been shrunk and we started using small size electronic technology. And then came the IC technology in 1960s. Okay, and in 1960, after the introduction of this ICs by Texas Instruments and Fairchild Semiconductors, there was a big revolution. Like the size of the electronic technology has reduced a lot. It has shrunk to a very small size. And after that, we had started developing many applications because of this advantage. And if we see the evolution, as I said, the first generation was about vacuum tubes. The second generation, there was an improvement, that is after the invention of transistors. And the third generation is about ICs. Okay, after the invention of IC, as I said in 1960, the third generation evolved. And after that, in IC itself, we have so many evolution. That is, initially we started with small scale integration, means like 100 transistors were fabricated in a single chip. Okay, and from that, slowly we developed to the next stage where we went to medium scale integration. So medium scale integration is where we had 1,000 transistors, approximately 100 to 1,000 transistors in a chip. And then came large scale integration. So large scale integration, we have increased even more, like around from 1,000 to 20,000 transistors in a chip. And then came very large scale integration, which we know as VLSI popularly. And there it was about 20,000 to 10 lakh transistors in a chip. Okay, and then came ultra large scale integration, ULSI, where it was around 10 power 6 to 10 power 7 transistor per chip. And we are much ahead of all those things. Then we had giant scale integration, where it is more than 10 power 7 transistors in the chip. That was the evolution. So it started from a vacuum tube, such a huge huge sized technology. From that, we have landed with this giant scale integration, where we have 10 power 7 transistors per chip. Okay, that was the evolution here. And we see what are the advantages of these ICs. Why this IC technology has come, what is the advantage of this? Of course, we all know the very foremost important advantage of this IC is size. Okay, so very small in size. We all know it is a miniaturization, and therefore we can increase the equipment density. So that is the foremost very important advantage. Then, of course, since we are going in for batch processing of this IC, the cost will also be very low. So it's a low cost technology, and there is a reduction in power consumption. It is highly reliable since we don't have any soldering joints and all here, right? So, and therefore it is highly reliable. Operating speed is also very high because we don't have any capacitive effect here, parasitic capacitance effect and all in this IC. And therefore you have increased speed, operating speed, and reduced external wiring connections. Of course, we don't, we maximum, we'll cover the entire circuit within the IC, and therefore the external wirings will be get reduced. And of course, it is very easy to use because it is handy, small in size, less weight, and therefore instead of handling a bulk complex circuit, which is created on a breadboard, instead of that, this will be very easy to use. So because of all these advantages, only we started using ICs. And now coming to very specific about this operational amplifier. Operational amplifier, as I said, it is a multi-terminal device. It's a versatile device which can be used for much more applications other than amplification and mathematical function. And this operational amplifier, in short, it is called as op-amp, and it is based on IC technology. So this op-amp has a symbol. You can see the symbol here. It is a, you have a triangle, and it has two inputs, non-inverting input and inverting input. So the non-inverting input, the non-inverting terminal, it has been shown with a negative sign, a minus sign, and the inverting input is shown with a minus sign, and the non-inverting terminal is shown with a plus sign, right? So we have two inputs and one output terminal is there, which is in pin number 6. Pin numbers are shown here. A general op-amp symbol will not show all these pin numbers. This is specifically for IC 741. Okay, that is the most versatile IC, most versatile op-amp, and that op-amp has pin number 2 as non-inverting input and pin number 3 as inverting input. So non-inverting means, actually speaking, here we should have a plus, and inverting input means I should have a minus here. And these two pins are for power supply, and this is the output, right? And you can see that here, right, this plus and minus sign. So this is our inverting terminal and this is the non-inverting terminal. 7 and 4 are the supply pins, and 1 and 5 are offset null pins. That is to nullify if at all we have any offset voltage. And this is specifically the pin diagram of IC 741, which is an op-amp. Okay. So the most widely used op-amp, IC 741. So this is the pin diagram for that. You can see the a particular package here. Okay, we have actually 3 popular packages, like a metal can package, we can have a dual inline package, flat package, and this is dual inline package, and that to mini dip. Dual inline, we call it as dip, and this is mini dip because you have only 8 terminals here, so it is mini dip. Okay, and you can see all these things in this mini dip IC package. You have this, all these pins shown here: inverting input, non-inverting input. Okay, right, offset null, as I said, 1 and 5, and 7 and 4 are supply voltages, and 6 is the output, and 1 pin we don't have any connection, right? Now the stages of op-amp. So what you have inside an op-amp. In the op-amp circuit, the internal circuit of op-amp is quite complex. So instead of explaining this op-amp with circuit, we can understand the concept with respect to this block diagram, right? So the op-amp consists of 4 main stages: input stage, intermediate stage, level shifting stage, and output stage. So we'll see one by one. The first one is input stage. So input stage is nothing but it is a dual input balanced output differential amplifier. So both actually input stage and intermediate stage, it has only differential amplifier. First one is dual input balanced output differential amplifier, and intermediate stage is dual input unbalanced output differential amplifier. So what is the purpose of these differential amplifier in the input stage and intermediate stages? Since we are using differential amplifiers, we'll satisfy 2 main criteria. That is, the op-amps will have very high gain since we use differential amplifiers, and the input impedance of op-amp will also be very high. Okay, as we are using differential amplifier in the input stage, the input impedance of the op-amp will be very high, and the gain of the op-amp will also be very high. Okay, since these are the qualities of differential amplifier, right? And in intermediate stage, we'll have a set of cascaded dual input unbalanced output differential amplifiers. It is not a single stage. You have cascaded stage there. This is in order to increase the gain of the amplifier to a higher level. So it means op-amps will produce very high gain, say ideally speaking, infinite gain. So that gain is achieved through this cascaded differential amplifier stage, what you have in the intermediate stage. And the third stage is level shifting stage. So what is this level shifting stage? Level shifting stage is having two purpose. One is it has to produce zero output for zero input. Second one, it should act as a buffer, right? That is, it will be a buffer between the intermediate stage and output stage, and it will be performing the operation of level shifting. Okay, so what we mean by this exactly is this intermediate stage, as I told, it will be having cascaded differential amplifier, is it not? In IC, in this cascaded differential amplifier, there will not be any coupling capacitors used. That is, in between the stages, we'll not have any coupling capacitors. So when we don't have coupling capacitors, what will happen? The DC will pass from the first differential amplifier to the second differential amplifier. Normally, we don't do this. Whenever we go in for cascading amplifier stages, we always put a coupling capacitor. The reason is we want to block the DC and we want to amplify only the AC part, right? But here we'll not do that, since we want to use the op-amp for amplifying DC as well as AC, right? So it should work good for both DC as well as AC. If that is the case, we are not supposed to block the DC, and therefore will not use any coupling capacitor, right? And of course, it will occupy large space also. So within an IC, you cannot use coupling capacitor, fabricate a coupling capacitor. That is also there, right? And therefore, you will not have, all will be direct coupled. Okay, that is the case. The DC and AC, everything will get amplified stage by stage. So what happens when you are giving an AC input? We are supposed to get the amplified version of that input signal, AC input signal, what is given. But this AC input signal will get shifted by a DC amount, since your DC is also getting amplified. Actually, my input is AC, but the small amount of bias signal, the DC signal, which is present in all the amplifier stages, will amplify this small amount of the bias voltage, DC voltage also. And therefore, since it passes through cascaded differential amplifiers, which are having very high gain, the DC will also get amplified, and therefore your final output will be shifted by it, will get clamped. Okay, and we don't want this to happen, and therefore when I give an AC signal, I want only the AC to get amplified. So the DC signal, how much ever the DC has been amplified, that level will be shifted down in this level shifting stage. And this level shifting stage is nothing but an emitter follower with constant current source. Okay, so basic normal emitter follower. So it will bring down the DC shifting that has happened in the previous stage, the intermediate stage. And one more is, when I don't give any input, when my input is zero, I'm supposed to get my output also zero. But since we have differential amplifiers in the input stage and intermediate stage, that two cascaded differential amplifiers, even when I don't give any input also, as I said, the small biasing voltage what is available, since we have connected the op-amp to power supply, okay, that is plus or minus 15 volts DC supply, a small bias voltage will be there, and that bias voltage will get amplified stage by stage here, and we'll be getting a solid output at the output stage. So for a zero input, we will not get zero output here. So that also should be removed, right? So we have take care of that also. That is also taken care by this level shifting stage. Okay, so it will bring down all the DC levels to zero. right? So that is the purpose of this level shifting stage. And the last stage is output stage. So what is this output stage? Output stage, it has two main purposes again. The purpose of this is it has to produce low output impedance. See, the purpose of input stage is it has to provide high input impedance. That's why we used a differential amplifier. And the purpose of the output stage, it has to give a low output impedance. And one more thing is it has to provide a symmetrical swing. That is, the sinusoidal signal should have a symmetrical positive and negative half. So to do that, in the output stage, we have complementary symmetry push-pull amplifiers, which will take care of these two purposes. Okay, and that's what we have inside an op-amp. Okay, as I said, it is quite complicated. Only we are just trying to understand the operation of the op-amp through these four stages. Okay. Now, ideal characteristics of op-amp. See, when we talk about the characteristics of op-amp, we have to split it as ideal and practical, because ideal characteristics and practical characteristics are not same. So first, we'll be talking about the ideal characteristics now. So ideal characteristics of op-amp, the first foremost one is the open loop gain of the op-amp is infinite. Okay, so open loop gain is infinite means, see what is gain? Gain is output by input. So here it is a differential amplifier basically. So output by differential input we can say. So the gain can be calculated as V0 divided by differential input. So differential input, this is equal to infinite. Okay, so what does it mean? If that is equal to infinite means your input output divided by input is equal to infinity. So it means denominator should be 0 in that case. Okay, then only we'll get the ratio as infinity, is it not? Right? So denominator is nothing but the differential input. So differential input is 0. Okay, so that is the inference we can get it from this. Okay, and second one is input impedance is infinite. Okay, since we use high gain differential amplifiers in the input stage, as per the differential amplifier characteristics, we'll be having a infinite input impedance. So that will be the characteristics of op-amp also. And output impedance will be 0. So that also we know, right? Bandwidth will be infinity. Okay, it means you'll have a flat response, maximum response throughout the entire frequency range. Okay, so whenever you try to operate an op-amp from DC level till the maximum frequency, your op-amp gain will always remain stable. So that is the meaning of infinite bandwidth, is it not? And there is no offset also. Infinite CMRR, infinite slew rate, all these things are ideal characteristics of an op-amp. Okay, and we can get some inference from this. As I said, open loop gain is infinite means, what do you mean by that? When gain is infinity, it means for an op-amp, the differential input is always 0, right? And input impedance is infinity means, impedance is infinite means any source can be connected to the op-amp, you'll not have any loading issue. Similarly, output impedance is 0 means any number of loads can be connected to the op-amp, and again there will not be any loading problem. Bandwidth is infinite, as I said. You can operate the op-amp throughout the entire frequency range, even starting from DC, right? And you'll be able to maintain the gain. There is no offset. Ideally speaking, it is 0 offset. That is, when my inputs are 0, my output will also be 0. Okay, as we have done some adjustments there in the level shifting stage, is it not? And therefore it will be 0, right? CMRR will be very high, slew rate will be very high. Yes, these are the characteristics of an ideal op-amp. Practically speaking, we have to put it in another way. So practically, I should say, open loop gain of an op-amp is very high. It is not infinite. Practically, it will not be infinity. It will be very high. Input impedance is very high. Output impedance is very low. Bandwidth is very high. Offset is very low. That means very small offset will be there. CMRR will be very high. Slew rate will be very high. So when I talk about the practical characteristics, instead of infinite, I should put it as very high. And instead of 0, I should take it as very low. Comparison of ideal and practical op-amps. That's what we were telling now, right? So exactly the values are given. A typical op-amp, input resistance will be infinite for an ideal one. For an practical op-amp, it will be in the order of 10 power 8 or 10 power 9 based on whether it is transistor based op-amp or FET based op-amp. Okay. Similarly, input current, ideally speaking, it is 0. So no current will enter into the op-amp. That is the meaning. Okay, no current will enter into the op-amp. But practically speaking, you'll have a very small amount of current, 10 power minus 12 range. Okay, 10 power minus 12 to 10 power minus 14 range of current will be there. And then output resistance is 0. But again, ideally speaking, practically you'll have in this range everywhere. You can just now we were talking about this. Not you can compare the ideal and practical characteristics of op-amp. And then ideal op-amp with negative feedback, right? So ideal op-amp usually we'll be using with negative feedback. Most of the applications will have negative feedback only. So when you use op-amp with a negative feedback, we are supposed to follow two important golden rules. So one is the voltage difference between the inputs is always 0. I'm sorry. That is, the differential input is 0, we said, is it not? Whatever is the voltage is maintained at one terminal, the same voltage will be maintained in the other terminal also. Then only we can say the differential input is equal to 0, is it not? So always when we use op-amp in the negative feedback, we'll assume that somehow the circuit adjusts and makes the potential at inverting and non-inverting terminal to be same, and therefore the differential input is 0. And second one, no current will enter into the op-amp. Okay, all the currents will flow by the path what has been whatever connections we have made instead of flowing into the op-amp. So these two assumptions should be there for understanding the operation of op-amp in different applications. Okay, now we start with the few applications. How can we use op-amp as an inverting amplifier? So now what do you mean by inverting amplifier first? Inverting amplifier means an amplifier which will do the process of amplification, and here there will be a change in the polarity. That is, when I have this inverting amplifier for a DC signal, when I give positive voltage, my output will be negative. When I give negative voltage here, my output will be positive. Right? So it will invert the polarity whenever I give a DC input. And if suppose I have an AC input, then whatever input is given, of course, it will perform the amplification, and you'll be having the output 180-degree out of phase with the input. Okay, so there will be a phase difference of 180-degree between the input and output whenever we use the op-amp as an inverting amplifier. Okay, so how we'll have the inverting amplifier? Means whenever we give the input to the inverting terminal and non-inverting is grounded, then it will act as an inverting amplifier. So you can see the circuit here. We have given the input to the inverting terminal through the input resistance, and of course you have a feedback resistance, and the non-inverting terminal is grounded. So output will be some factor times my input, and since my input is given to the inverting terminal, the output will have and change in the polarity, or it will be 180-degree out of phase with the input. Okay, so let us see prove this. Okay, so let me write an expression for this. What is the expression for the current, the overall input current that flows from the source, which is named as I1. So I1 is equal to Vi minus this potential here is 0. Since we said no, we always have to follow some golden rules. So as per that rule, since your non-inverting terminal is grounded here, the potential at this point will be 0, and therefore this is also assumed to be 0, right? So therefore it is Vi minus the 0 divided by R1, Ohm's law. So this current I1 is equal to Vi by R1, right? And the same current flows through this feedback path also. This is actually a node. We are supposed to have a division of current here, but again there is a golden rule assuming that no current will enter into this op-amp. So the entire current which flows here to the node has to have to divert itself to the feedback path, since it cannot flow into the op-amp. Okay, so the entire current flows through the feedback path, and therefore now if I write the expression for I1 with respect to this feedback path, I can say that as 0 because the potential here is 0, 0 minus this V0 divided by the resistor which is R2. So it is minus V0 by R2, right? So equating both are expression for I1, is it not? Equating this, we can find it out that V0 is equal to minus R2 by R1 into Vi. So output is equal to minus of a factor times the amplification factor is R2 by R1, gain times the input Vi. Okay. So output is equal to gain times input. Gain is R2 by R1, and since it is an inverting amplifier, you'll have a minus sign in the final expression. So this is how an inverting amplifier will work. Now it is non-inverting amplifier. So non-inverting amplifier is the same thing. Now here input will be given to the non-inverting terminal. You can see input is given to the non-inverting terminal through an input resistance, and you have a feedback resistance also here. Okay, and the inverting terminal is grounded through a resistance. Okay, and what is the nature of this non-inverting amplifier is a non-inverting amplifier also performs the operation of amplification, and along with that, here since it is non-inverting, whatever is the polarity of my input, the same polarity will also be maintained at the output. And if my input is a AC signal, then my output will be in phase with the input signal. See, in inverting amplifier, it was 180-degree out of phase, and in non-inverting amplifier, it will be in phase with the input signal. Okay, so writing expressions for this. Okay. Again, we'll be applying the golden rules. The potential at this point is equal to the potential at this point. Based on this, we can write expression, rearrange, and we'll get the final expression as V0 is equal to 1 plus RF by RS times the input. Okay, so output is equal to gain times input. Here we can see that there is no minus sign since it is not going to change the polarity. And the gain value is 1 plus RF by RS. Okay, 1 plus this feedback resistance value divided by this input resistance value, RF by RS. Okay, we should remember this in order to do problems. And the main application of this non-inverting amplifier is voltage follower. The voltage follower is nothing but a buffer. It means the output follows the input. Okay, you will not have anything done on the signal here. The input and the output will be same. And then what is the purpose of this voltage follower? As I said, it will just act as a buffer. It means whenever there is an impedance mismatch, we can use this voltage follower to match the impedances at the input side and at the output side. This voltage follower, it is just a modification of our non-inverting amplifier, and therefore you can see it here. Non-inverting amplifier will give input through the non-inverting terminal, is it not? We will not have any resistance, feedback resistance or input resistance here, and you have a short between the output and the input. You have a feedback, direct feedback from output to input. So this is what we call it as a voltage follower. Output is equal to input. Whatever is my input, same will be the output. Okay? But it will have very high input impedance and very low output impedance, the characteristics of an op-amp. Okay, so whenever you have an impedance mismatch between any two circuits, this voltage follower can be used in between to match the impedances to overcome the loading effects. Okay, summing amplifier. So what is the summing amplifier? It's an amplifier which is going to sum the inputs. That is, we are going to find what is the sum of the input signals given to the circuit. So here at summing amplifier, we have two types: inverting summing amplifier and non-inverting summing amplifier. So as I said, basically summing amplifier is going to have more than one inputs because we are going to add the input signals, right? And the output signal will be the amplified sum of the input signals. Since it is an amplifier, it will be amplified sum of the input signals, right? So we'll see the summing amplifier one by one. First one, inverting summer. As the name implies, this is a summer in the sense it is going to add the input signals, and at the same time it is an inverting summer. So as we already saw inverting amplifier, same concept applied here also. It means multiple inputs are given to the inverting terminal of the op-amp. So that is why it is called as inverting summer. Inputs are given to the inverting terminal of the op-amp, and therefore output, always we know whenever an input is given to the inverting terminal, in the output we'll be having a minus sign there. That is, output will be minus of gain times the input. So same concept here also. You can see this is the final expression. Output V naught will be equal to minus, this is the negative symbol because of this inverting summer. So minus of gain times the sum of the input signals. And this is what we call it as the inverting summer. So let us see what will be the expression for this. We'll derive the expression. So we can see here the same circuit shown again. It's a inverting summer where you have three inputs. We can see it is given to the inverting terminal of the op-amp. And as usual, we have a feedback. A non-inverting terminal has been grounded. So now this is the output. So output will be, as we already saw, it is gain times the sum of the inputs. And you will be having a minus sign since we are providing the inputs to the inverting terminal, right? So we'll write expression for the current expression, that is considering this node. So what are the currents that are flowing into and out of this node? So we can see that current I1 is flowing, I2 is flowing, and I3 is flowing inside the node, and this I4 is flowing out of the node, right? And we'll not have any current flowing into the op-amp, right? So with this, we have an assumption, is it not? We saw these golden rules. So as per the golden rule, no current will enter into the op-amp. So the sum of currents entering into the node is I1 plus I2 plus I3, and the one that is flowing out of the node is I4. Okay. So let us write expression for this. What is I1, I2, I3, I4, all those things. So I1 is 1 where it is V1 minus Vi divided by R1. I'll go back to the circuit. See, I1 is the current here. So I1 is equal to V1 minus the voltage potential what you have in this node. So let us take it as Vi. So V1 minus Vi divided by I1. Similarly, I2 will be V2 minus Vi divided by R2. Similarly, I3 will be V3 minus Vi divided by R3. Is it not? So we have to sum all these things only. So that is what's shown here. I1 is V1 minus Vi by R1. This is V2 minus Vi by R2. And this is V3 minus Vi by R3. And of course, what is I4? I4 is Vi minus V out. This voltage. And here it is Vi we assumed, is it not? So Vi minus V out divided by RF. Okay, so that is I4 expression. Okay, and what is the value of this Vi? Again, we are going to take the use of the golden rule what we started with. Okay, so as per golden rule number 1, we know that whatever is the potential you have in one terminal, the same potential will be maintained in the other terminal also, other input terminal also, right? So here we know that non-inverting terminal is grounded. It means the voltage is 0, right? So the potential at this node will also be equal to 0. So substituting that, so in that way only we got this as V1 by R1 because Vi is 0, is it not? So V1 by R1, this is V2 by R2, V3 by R3, and this is, since here it is 0, 0 minus V out. So that's why minus V out divided by RF. Now we said no, sum of the input currents is equal to the current that is flowing out. So this is equal to this. Now rearrange this to find an expression for output. So V naught will be V out will be equal to this RF into V1 by R1 plus RF into V2 by R2 plus RF into V3 by R2. Taking out RF outside, you can say it is like RF by R1 into V1 plus RF by R2 into V2 plus RF by R3 into V3. Right? And if we assume that all the resistance values as same, I'll go back to the circuit. I'm talking about these resistances. Okay. If R1 equal to R2 equal to R3, all the input resistors are of equal value, then it means V out will be equal to minus RF by R into sum of inputs. See, output is equal to gain times the sum of input. And since it is an inverting amplifier, we already saw the gain of an inverting amplifier is minus Rf by R1. That is the input resistance. The same thing, V out is equal to minus Rf by R into, instead of a single input, we have sum of inputs. Okay, so this is the expression, the output expression for an inverting summer. Okay, so inverting summer is an extension of inverting amplifier. So the expression will also look in the same way. We can very well make it out from this expression. In an inverting amplifier, the output expression will be V0 will be equal to minus Rf by R1 into input. Now, since we have multiple inputs, okay, in the place of input, I have the sum of all the inputs. The rest all is same. So V0 is equal to minus Rf by the feedback resistance divided by the input resistance. Here you have multiple input resistance, and we have assumed that all the resistance values are equal. So in that case, it acts as an inverting adder. Fine. Hope it is clear. Now, non-inverting amplifier. So what's a non-inverting summer? So what is a non-inverting summer? The same thing. It is going to act as a summing amplifier where the output will be the sum of inputs provided in the non-inverting terminal of the op-amp. So you can very well see from the diagram. I have shown two inputs which are given to the non-inverting terminal of the op-amp. And as usual, inverting terminal is grounded through a resistor and you have a feedback resistance here. So it is basically, this circuit is similar to non-inverting amplifier circuit, except that instead of having a single input, we are having multiple inputs here. Okay, so we have taken it as two inputs. Now, how to find the output expression for this? Okay, so the output expression for this non-inverting summer is found out through superposition theorem, like considering one input at a time. Okay, we have two inputs here, is it not? Let me consider one input at a time. So if I consider V1, then what, as per superposition theorem, what it says? When you consider one of the input, the other input should be grounded, is it not? So I consider V1 and therefore I ground the other input. So that is, you can see V2 is grounded here. Rest all is the same. You can see this part of the circuit remains the same, the feedback remains the same, everything else is same, except that instead of V2, we have just grounded the V2, that the source is grounded. Okay. Now let me find what is the expression. So to find the output of this circuit, if I find what is the voltage at this point, then it looks like a non-inverting amplifier and therefore I can write the final expression. So my aim here is I should first find out what is the potential at the non-inverting terminal, that is at this point. Okay, so it is, you can see this using voltage divider rule, I can write the voltage at this point will be equal to, that is the voltage across this resistor R2 will be equal to total voltage into this resistance R2 divided by total resistance R1 by R2. That is what's shown here. The voltage at non-inverting terminal, that is plus, is equal to the total voltage V1 into R2 divided by R1 plus R2. Okay, and now coming to the, after finding out this, so once I know what is the voltage at this point, output will be equal to 1 plus Rf by Rs times the input. Okay, so 1 plus Rf by Rs into input. So 1 plus Rf by Rs into input. What is input? Input is this point, that is B plus. Okay, so what is B plus? Substitute this expression here and simplify. Okay, okay, and this is what you'll be getting it here. So this is the final expression when I consider the input V1 alone. Okay, now let me consider the input V2. So what will happen? V2 will be here. I'll be grounding the source V1. Okay, and therefore my diagram comes like this. Is it not? I have V2 now. V1 has been grounded. Right? Now, same logic. Okay, to find out what is the output due to V2, first let me find out what is the voltage here and then write the final expression. So to find the voltage at this point, V plus will be equal to total voltage V2 into the other resistance R1 divided by total resistance R1 plus R2. Okay, so this is the expression for V plus, and again it acts like a non-inverting amplifier, and therefore the final expression will be V0 is equal to 1 plus Rf by Ri times the input. Okay, so 1 plus Rf by Rs times the input. Input is V plus, so substitute that here. So I'll get this expression. So this is output due to V2 previous one is output due to V1, right? So now finally we have to add both to get a final expression. So V out will be equal to output due to input 1 and output due to input 2. So when I add these two, this is common for both the expressions. And also I'll take it outside, and the output of the first one plus output of second. Now in this, if I consider that all the inputs are same, okay, so R1 equal to R2 equal to R, everything is same. Now what will happen? Then V out will be equal to 1 plus Rf by Rs into V1 plus V2 plus V3 divided by N. Okay, because all the resistor values are equal, no? So when I add all the resistors, then I'll be getting this. Yeah? So V1 plus V2 plus V3, all these things divided by N. Right? So this is the final expression. Yes. So output is 1 plus Rf by Rs times the input, sum of the inputs. So this is for non-inverting summer. Okay. So this is how we have to design an inverting summer and a non-inverting summer. Right. Let us see few problems based on this. Okay. Now, see this problem? Determine the output voltage for the following circuit. Okay. So what is the circuit? It's a very simple circuit. How will you first find out what circuit is the given one? See, once you identify the circuit, it is easy to find the output of the circuit. Okay, because if we know the circuit already, so directly we can write the final expression, the output expression for that particular circuit, and you can get the output. Is it not? Or else you have to solve the circuit step by step. Right. Now just see the circuit. What sort of circuit is this? You see this, you can easily identify that there are multiple inputs given to the inverting terminal. Whenever there are multiple inputs given to one of the terminal, it is easy to identify that it is a summer. Okay, it is an adder circuit. And since here in this case, multiple inputs are given to the inverting terminal of the op amp, and therefore it is an inverting adder, right? And you can see that resistor values are there, and if you remember, we assumed that if all the resistor values are equal, this R1, R2, R3 and all equal only, the expression will be output is equal to minus Rf times the sum of the inputs. Okay, but here you don't have a similar value. There are different values, and you have feedback resistor also with a different value. But anyhow, I can identify this as an inverting summer. So directly let me write the output expression. Output will be equal to minus of, how will the expression come? Rf by R1 into V1 plus Rf by R2 into V2. Like this, how many ever inputs we have here. Suppose if we have two more inputs also, the same concept will go on. Okay, so Rf by R1 times the input, Rf by R2 times the second input, Rf by R3 times the third input, like that. Okay, of course, you'll have a minus sign, right? So here substitute all the values and you need to simplify. Okay, just simplify and check out what is the answer you're getting. I want everyone to do the problem. It's a very simple problem, straight problem. Okay, only thing is you should identify that it is a inverting adder, so you can do it fast. Or else this expression should have been derived. Okay, if you are not able to identify, then you will be deriving this expression as we saw in that inverting summer. Same way you have to derive it, and then you will be applying the values. So it will take time. Once you identify the circuit, it is very easy. Straight direct problem, direct application of formula. So please try to do this and see what is the answer you're getting. Yes. Are you people getting it as minus 19 volts? Yeah, hope everyone has got minus 19 volts. It is anyway shown here. Okay. Hope there is no doubt since it is a direct problem. We move to the next problem. See this problem. Some circuit is given and we need to find what is the output expression of this circuit, right? So just see, a circuit is given, how to find out the output expression. We are not able to identify what circuit is this. Okay, on the whole, if I see, I am not able to find out what circuit is this, but I can break the circuit into small circuits and identify what type of circuit is this. Is that not? So let me break this and see. Just try, give a try. Try to find out what circuit is each part. You can easily make it out. Yes, see, you can easily make it out. This first part, you can see input is given through a resistor to the inverting terminal. You have non-inverting grounded and you can see a feedback here. So what circuit is this? This is basically a inverting amplifier circuit. It is an inverting amplifier circuit. Fine. Now second one. So the second one is this entire circuit. Is it not? What you can see in this, I have an open here. Again, my non-inverting terminal is grounded. Through the inverting terminal, I have some input coming from here and some other input coming from here. So it means I have multiple inputs connected through a resistor to the inverting terminal. Of course, as usual, I have a feedback. I have non-inverting grounded. So what circuit it must be? It is a inverting adder circuit. Getting it? So this is how actually you are supposed to crack the question. Okay. So when a problem is given, first see whether you are able to identify what circuit is that. Okay, on the whole. If you're not able to do that, break that entire given circuit into small circuits. Okay, so that easily you can find out what circuit is that. And try to get the output expression for the smaller circuits. And when we combine everything together, we'll get the final expression. Okay, so this problem again, you can easily solve in this way. As we have seen, the first part of the circuit is nothing but inverting amplifier and the second part is a inverting adder. Yes, please make a try. Anyhow, I'll explain, but still just make a try. All the values have been given and I have told you that what is each and every part of the circuit. Okay, so you can very easily try it and find the output expression. So I want everyone to try individually. Just make a try. It may be right or wrong. Please make a try. I'll just give you 2 minutes time. Try to complete this problem. Yes, hope everyone is doing. Yes. Okay. Shall we see the answer? See, as I said, the first part of the circuit is an inverting amplifier and therefore output will be minus RF by R1 times the input. So in this case, it is R2 and R1 and values have been given. Is it not? What is R2? 20K and R1 is 10K. So just substitute that. So 20 divided by 10 and therefore it is 2. Right? We don't know what is the input value. It is not given there. So it is minus 2V1. Second part, as I said, it's an inverting adder. Just now we saw a problem in inverting adder, is it not? How to solve it? Output will be equal to minus RF by RI times the first input minus RF by R1 times the first input minus RF by R1 R2 times the second input. Okay, so like here. So this divided by this into the corresponding input and then this divided by this resistor divided into the corresponding input. Okay, so that is what done here. Okay, substitute all the values, simplify, and then you'll be getting the final expression. Okay, hope there is no doubt in this expression. Yes, because it is quite easy, is it not? So this is the output of the first one, this is the output of the second part, and that is the final output also. Okay, so this is the final expression. Okay, let us try one more problem. Find V naught. Verify that if R3 by R4, the circuit is an instrumentation amplifier with gain this much. Okay, so I hope it is cut here. It is actually R3 by R4 is equal to R2 by R1. Right, so it is not clear in the question. So we have to find first output of the expression. In the output, you have to make an assumption that R3 by R4, this ratio will be equal to R1 by R2. And finally, we should get the final expression, which will be the expression of an instrumentation amplifier. Hope everyone knows about instrumentation amplifier, right? Instrumentation amplifier is just like a differential amplifier. We'll see differential amplifier probably in the next one, next topic, right? So differential amplifier, it is updated as instrumentation amplifier in order to amplify the difference between the inputs. Usually we'll be using it in industries where the output of the transducer is very low. In that case only mainly we'll be going in for this instrumentation amplifier. So what we have to do is we have finally get an expression which will be similar to instrumentation amplifier expression, right? So again, see, you can see if such a big circuit, I'm not able to identify what circuit is that means. On the whole, I have to break it into smaller ones, is it not? So let me break this into two. This is the first part of the circuit and this is the second part of the circuit. Just have a look on the first part of the circuit. You can see that input is given to the non-inverting terminal, inverting terminal grounded through a resistor, and you have a feedback. So basically, this is a non-inverting amplifier. So I can write an expression for this. What about this? This is again, I have an input given to the non-inverting terminal. I have a resistor from the inverting terminal to, instead of ground, it is connected here. Okay. And I have resistor, a feedback resistor here. Okay. So let us see what should be done here. First, the first part is a non-inverting amplifier, as I said. So output will be equal to 1 plus RF by Ri times the input. Okay. So RF is R3 and Ri is R4. Okay. So that is what written here, 1 plus R3 by R4 into V1. Now this V1 acts as an input to the second part of the circuit. Second part of the circuit, what is that? Now I'm drawing only the second part of the circuit. See, I've got the output of the first part of the circuit, which is VO1. Okay, this one. Okay, I'll omit this entire first part. So VO1 is one of the input here and V2 is the other input. So it means input is given to both the inputs of the op-amp. Okay, it is like a subtractor or a differential amplifier, which we are going to see in the next one, next topic, as I said. So when you have, just remember, when you have input to both the terminals of the op-amp, then it means the circuit will either act as a subtractor or a differential amplifier based on the resistor values. Okay. So here also I have two inputs, one given to the inverting terminal and the other given to the non-inverting terminal. So let's see what happens. Now, how to get the output of this expression? When you have inputs like this, we have to consider one by one. Two inputs are there now, so let's consider one by one. So superposition theorem. When I consider VO1 alone, what is the output? When I consider V2 alone, what is the output? So let me consider VO1. When I consider this one, I should ground this, is it not? I should short the supply. Okay. So when I short the input, what will happen? Input given to the inverting terminal, and you have a feedback, non-inverting grounded. So it will act like a inverting amplifier circuit, and therefore your output expression will be minus RF by R1 times the input. So R2 by R1 times the input. So R2 by R1 times the input VO1. This is the first output when I consider this input. When I consider input V2, what will happen? V2 is given here and you have a feedback, you have a resistor going to ground. Okay, so it looks like a non-inverting amplifier. So in that case, what will be my output? Output will be equal to 1 plus RF by Ri times this input. Okay, so the second time this is the input, right? So 1 plus R2 by R1 times the second input, which is V2. Okay, so that is what. So superposition theorem means the output due to first input plus the output due to the second input. Let me try to simplify all these things. I'm taking out common, all those things. And they said, no, here we are going to make an assumption that R3 by R4 is equal to R1 by R2. That's what I said. There is a missing here. Somehow in this PPT it got missed. Okay. R3 by R4 is equal to R1 by R2. Here it should be equal to R1 only. So in this expression, if I substitute R3 by R4 as equal to R1 by R2, my expression gets simplified like this. See, step by step you need to try. Okay, when I simplify like this, I can get a final expression V0 is equal to 1 plus R2 by R1 into V2 minus V1. So the difference between the inputs is amplified. So that is nothing but a differential amplifier. Okay, here in this case, we can say it as a instrumentation amplifier. As the gain is 1 plus R2 by R1, I can call this as instrumentation amplifier. Okay, so this is the final expression and we have proved. Okay, can you understand? Just go through the steps again. See what we have done. I'm just showing the steps again. Okay, hope it is very clear. Okay, fine. Right. Next, let us go to the one what I was talking about, differential amplifier. Okay, we'll conclude with this topic this class and we'll be moving on with the next topic. Okay, so finally it's almost time. So anyhow, we'll try to complete this. Okay, differential amplifier. Differential amplifier, as I said, it is an amplifier which will amplify the difference between the inputs. Okay, so when I have two inputs, the difference between both the inputs will get amplified. Okay, so this is how the circuit will be. You can see, as I said, when you have input to both the terminals of the op amp, both inverting and non-inverting, it will either act as a differential amplifier or a subtractor or even an adder subtractor. That is, when you have multiple inputs to the inverting terminal, similarly multiple inputs to the non-inverting terminal, that case it will act as an adder subtractor. Okay, now I have an input to the inverting terminal and input to the non-inverting terminal. So it could be either a differential amplifier or subtractor based on the resistor values. Okay. So let us see how to derive expression for this. First, I'm writing the expression for the current I1. So I1 is equal to, as usual, V1 minus VI, V minus divided by R1. Okay, this one. Similarly, I can write an expression for same I1 because we know that current that flows here cannot enter into the op amp. So no current can enter into the op amp. So the entire current flows through the feedback also. So from the feedback point of view, if I write the expression for I1, I can write it as I1 is equal to this V minus minus V naught divided by this R2. Okay. And both are expression for I1 only. So I can compare and get out. Okay, right. I can compare and get for this. Anyhow, here, let me write the expression for this point, that is V plus. Okay. So now we were writing expression in this node, is it not? Now let me try to write an expression in this node. So the voltage at this point will be equal to apply voltage divider rule. Total voltage into R2 divided by R1 plus R2. Okay, that is what V plus. And we all know by the golden rule. Okay, that is the potential at the inverting terminal will be equal to the potential at non-inverting terminal. So I have some voltage calculation here for this point. Similarly, I have some voltage calculation for this point. Let me equate these two. Okay. See, V1 minus V plus divided by R1 is equal to V plus minus V naught divided by R2. Okay, so when I equate these two, okay, I'm able to get an expression, simplify it, and therefore we have to simplify a lot. Okay, simplify. Finally, you can say that V naught will be equal to R2 by R1 times V2 minus V1. Okay, so V naught is equal to some gain times the difference between the inputs. Okay, if you want, you can go through the steps again. Very simple, normal simplification is there. See step by step what simplification is done. I can show you again, right? We are writing expression for I1 and then for same expression for I1 in terms of feedback, and then I'll write an expression for V plus. Then I'm writing what is, I'm applying the golden rule, and then I start substituting there and simplify it. Okay, as I do the simplification step by step, finally I'm reaching that output is equal to some gain times the difference between the input. Okay, this is it acts as a differential amplifier. Okay, at the same time, the same thing. If my resistor values are equal, that is, if I assume that this R2, R1 and all equal, what will happen? R2 is equal to R1 means both the values will be same and therefore it will get cancelled, and your output expression will be equal to V0 is equal to V2 minus V1. It is like it is a subtractor. Output is equal to difference between the input. So it is a subtractor. Now output is equal to difference between the input into a gain. Okay, so gain times the difference between the input, which is nothing but the differential amplifier. I hope you all understood this. Yes. Right. So with this, we conclude today, and we'll have the continuation of this other applications like differentiator, integrator, comparator, schema trigger, all those things in our next class. We'll continue with that. And before that, just please go through all these things once. Okay. Thank you, students. Thanks a lot.